5:30. All right, 5:30. April 16. I'll do a call to order. My secretary could do a roll call.
Butterfield.
Here.
Carter.
Here.
Cooper Surma.
Here.
Elixon Andrews.
Here.
Looting here. Vandervenen.
Here. Thank you. We have the agenda posted. Before we take a motion to approve the agenda, I believe there is an update to the agenda. Correct, John?
Yes, sir. Item 7.1, new business. The PBM development plan review for the proposed Zayton expansion does not require any departures. So that portion, if you will, of that item can be removed, if you will, please, as part of your approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda with the amendment just described.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously to approve the agenda. If everyone could review the March 19 minutes. Make a motion to approve those after review.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. We have two public hearings tonight. We will start with our first one. Request to rezone parcel from the AGP, the Agricultural Preservation, to RP1, Rural Preservation 1. Applicant and property owner Kurt and Sarah Bjorkman, 2430 and 2490 Honey Creek Avenue Northeast. If the applicant or representative would like to come forward. If you could just state your name, address. I'm assuming you're the applicant here, and then you can go ahead.
Sure. My name is John DePoy with Naderveld. We're the land planning consultant on behalf of the applicant here, representing the applicant and the property owner. The applicant is the property owner for the proposed requested zoning of the property located at 2430 and 2490 Honey Creek Avenue Northeast. I'm going to set this up here a minute, if that's all right.
Of course.
Visuals can help. All right, the applicant, again, is the property owner in this instance, was planning to be here tonight, but he's a pediatric cardiologist and was on call at the hospital as a doctor and unable to make it. So I'm here representing, to the best of my ability, the requested change in zoning or rezoning. So to kind of get our bearings, the property is located at 2430 and 2490 Honey Creek Avenue. The subject property consists of two contiguous lots under common ownership that is depicted in the rezone exhibit that we prepared and included in the application packet. The property is two parcels adjoining along the east-west property boundary, extending from Honey Creek Avenue toward Chase Lake to the east. The northern parcel is the larger of the two, about 25.5 acres in size, and the southern parcel is about 5.5 acres in size, which makes the existing southern parcel non-compliant with the minimum 10-acre parcel requirement in the current AGP Agricultural Preservation District. And of course, that is restricting future land use. Looks like Kurt just showed up, so applicant is here as well. So we understand staff concern that the proposed requested change in zoning does not satisfy the intent of the township's master plan, which is largely based on the future land use map that kind of has a broad view of the township in general. I might note that either there were misunderstandings or misrepresentation that I saw in the staff memo on our submittal. So the intent is not for the sale and construction of additional homes, or at least not any more homes that would be permitted under current zoning. So the applicant has been willing to offer a condition of approval that would limit building permits on the two existing parcels to 3 total building permits. So the kind of objective is not to get more units than what current zoning would allow. You know, we are of the opinion that the requested zoning not only is compatible with the areas, there are several parcels surrounding the property that I highlight in this exhibit that are also under the 10-acre minimum requirement in the Ag Preservation District these properties are zoned in, and the property has, you know, adequate capacity to house 3 single-family residential units. The really the kind of way in which I see the compatibility with the master plan, or, you know, with this proposed requested change in zoning from the Ag Preservation District to the RP1 district, accomplishing some of the goals in the master plan that the township put together would be to, you know, to prepare the property lines, or to put, you know, property lines for 3 total parcels in an arrangement that would preserve the natural sensitive environmental features on the property. You know, there's over, the 2 parcels currently are over 10 acres in size, so, you know, we could just draw 10-acre parcels that technically would be compliant with the standards of the current zoning, but, you know, those property lines are potentially gonna be detrimental to some natural features that if the smaller 5-acre minimum lot requirement under the RP1 zoning district was allowed, we could draw the property lines in a kind of restricted area that would limit the development area on the property to you know, to utilize the, you know, I guess put the property lines in a way that are in harmony with those natural environmental features. So we see that as an objective in the master plan, and with, you know, the existing parcels in the area that are already under size and the existing parcel to the south being already under the 10-acre minimum requirement, you know, this would help to bring the existing non-compliance into compliance, and to, you know, have a zoning that could, you know, restrict development into smaller home site areas. So, you know, the request, you know, I understand is, you know, like we knew what we were up against coming in with the application, and have had conversations with the property owner, knowing that there were some challenges. We thought proposing the conditional option to approve the application, or to approve the request under the condition of 3 total building permits on the 2 parcels could be a kind of way to thread the needle. So I'll pause with that, answer any questions you may have.
If you just wanna continue on with everything you have, and then we'll take staff comments and go from there. We'll call you back up if we have questions.
There's nothing additional that I would hit that wasn't included in the
Okay.
application
You
material.
can probably just
That we
sit up
submitted.
front here or
Sure.
sit there if you want.
Unless, Kurt, you had anything to add?
No, I think you summarized it really well. I think
If you wanna come up, if you have more than just yes or no, if you could come up, state your name and address.
appreciate you letting me come and share. I'm Kurt Bjorkman, relatively new to the area, native of the Upper Peninsula, but having a fun home in West Michigan. I think John really nicely summarized. Our goal was to preserve the natural nature of the land. You know, we are currently allowed by statute, as I understand, to split our parcel into pieces, but that they would be really irregularly shaped and not fit with the natural features of the land, should we split to allow for the building of one additional single-family home unit. And so I think that's the challenge, is like, this is a piece of property that we have come to love. I've got turkeys strutting out in my backyard every morning, and loving the deer and the wildlife, and the benefit of having, you know, our neighbors to the north and the south who really appreciate that too. And at least my understanding is that they are very much in alignment with our goals for the land too, and then I think fits with the township goals of really preserving that agricultural feel that, like, we love and enjoy, that we are continuing to do with our land. You know, we're planning on putting corn in here in a couple of weeks, and thinking about that and wanting to preserve that. And then how do we do that while also allowing us to build a home that will hopefully be a multi-generational home for our family for decades to come. So thank you for listening to this.
Appreciate it. John, if you want to give staff comments on this one?
Sure, happy to. Start off and provide basically a summary based on the staff report. First off, we're very glad to hear of the applicant's desire to maintain the natural environment, natural features of the property, and to observe the spirit and honor the master plan and the zoning ordinance, which really would be accomplished by maintaining the existing zoning with the existing minimum lot sizes. This is a location that is within the rural agricultural preservation area, as you can see on the master plan map, as well as on the zoning map. Honey Creek Avenue represents a natural divide between the agricultural area and the rural preservation area to the west. From staff's perspective, all of the area to the east of Honey Creek, it is important to retain in that agricultural preservation zoning and designation. We worked very long and very hard on the master plan back in 2023 and in 2022. We spent a lot of time, for those of you that were part of that process, with community outreach, with conversations with the community, and a significant sentiment in the community, as reflected in the master plan, which is now township policy and is reflected in the zoning ordinance as well, which is township law, that the larger lot areas need to be maintained as they are. And in fact, in some cases reinforced, but potentially enlarged. So that's an important thing I think we need to keep in mind, is that this policy is not random. This was a very intentional process. This took a long time, a lot of public input to do. There are certainly areas of the community, obviously, within the RP1, which is a very large area, just not here, where 5-acre lots are allowed. And certainly if people wish to develop on 5-acre parcels, they would be certainly encouraged to do so in those areas where that is possible in the RP1 district. In this location, 10 acres is the minimum size. And it is interesting because the two sites in total have about 31 acres. The one lot has about 5.6 acres, and the other one has about 25.5 acres. And so theoretically, it would be possible to do 3 homes on 3 lots, each with meeting the minimum 10 acres. The applicant has talked about preserving natural areas and everything else, which is great. Again, we agree with that, which is why the zoning designation is as it is and why the master plan designation is as it is. And that's wonderful. We have not seen any lot configurations, any proposed lot ideas, or, gee, it's going to be too unusual of a lot configuration. We haven't seen anything. Nothing's been submitted to us to tell us what that might look like or how that might look. Mr. DePoy is correct that we did have a number of communications early to let him know of township policy regarding the master plan, regarding the zoning ordinance. So really nothing in the staff report is a surprise whatsoever. And I wanted to point that out. So again, this proposed rezoning does not align with or conform to the master plan. I've noted a number of principles from the master plan and the zoning ordinance that are quoted in the staff report that kind of reinforce preservation of the larger lots and the reason that they should be retained and maintained. The applicant pointed out other lots within the HEP district that are substandard in their size. Certainly those exist, but those exist from a time years ago, presumably decades ago, when such lots could be developed under old zoning rules. In general, the goals of the community are to always move in a direction where we're trying to get better alignment with our master plan and with our zoning ordinance in order to reinforce those principles because they are township policy, instead of moving further away from them with the allowance of smaller lots. In our view, staff's view, establishment of smaller lots, well, gee, the neighboring lots have that, so we should be able to do that. To staff is not a good basis to make that argument because it essentially reinforces the idea of more non-conforming lots and moves away from compliance and consistency with township policy. We believe that all of these situations really would create a very problematic precedent in the community, in which case, and that would include a contract rezoning where they would say, gee, we would only want to do 3 houses. Again, you could do 3 houses on 30 acres. We haven't seen any lot situations or proposals that would indicate otherwise. That what would stop anybody else from doing the same thing throughout the rest of the HEP district? There's really nothing in staff's view that would stop that from happening. So we see that as problematic, and that whole idea of, for lack of a better word, fragmenting larger lots into multiple smaller lots. Ultimately, too, if that kind of precedent is set, theoretically, situations get created where there may be a little more strain on infrastructure, right? We have all 2-lane roads here. We have well and septic in this area. And while water table issues and sanitary sewer or septic issues are not a problem at this point, if trends are developed or start happening where smaller lots are developed and continued and everything else, we could see challenges ultimately to things like our water table, septic capacities and those kinds of things. I know those problems are happening in Ottawa County, now, and that is because of development trends that have happened out there. So these things do exist, and they do happen, and I think we have to be cognizant of these potential trends, and in my view, staff's view, really honor where we are at as a community with all of the effort that's gone into the master plan to develop township policy and to maintain and reinforce that township policy. And for those reasons, staff strongly opposes this request. And we would ask the commission to recommend denial of this request as it does not meet the goals and objectives of the master plan or the laws and intentions of the zoning ordinance. From a housekeeping process perspective, the planning commission vote would be a recommending vote. Any changes to zoning, such as the zoning ordinance or the zoning map, which this is a request to do, unless the applicant were to withdraw it, this would then go on to the township board for final action. So that's just kind of a housekeeping matter. So, Brent, is there anything that you would wish to add? No. Okay.
Thank you,
Certainly
John.
any questions from the commission?
Yeah,
For
John,
staff is fine.
John, are you aware of any agricultural zoning that has been rezoned previously that has come to the planning commission or township board?
Not to my knowledge. Brent has been here longer. He's saying no as well.
Are you aware of any situations where we have allowed a split of a 10-acre into 2 5s or anything like that in the agricultural district for construction?
Not to my knowledge, such as a variance or something like that. Not to my knowledge. Brent, you're not aware of any either?
It's not clear to me, John, maybe you know better, what our problem statement is here. The candidate or the applicant says he wants to build a generational house, that he's not gonna build more than 3 lots. He can already have 3 lots right now. So what am I trying to accomplish?
That is a great
Why?
question, and it's a question I think staff would ask as well.
Okay.
Because, as I mentioned, Chairman Vandervenen, there are many areas within the township where small development on smaller lots can happen.
Mm-hmm.
There is, in fact, I would posit that the largest land area of any one zoning district in the community is probably the RP1 district. We have a huge area of the community that's within RP1, geographically, you know, the overall area. So it is a very large area. So there is a lot of land available for folks that would wish to do 5-acre lots. And obviously there are other zoning districts where smaller lot sizes are permitted. And obviously more concentrated development down in this part of the community. You know, the southern, say 1/3 of the community, say south of Fulton Street, where we have utilities and things like this. This is another main principle of our master plan, which talked about focusing more development down in this area where we have utilities, we have infrastructure, roads, these kinds of things that serve the community and can handle a higher density of development.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just as I read the brief from the applicant, in my opinion, what they are trying to accomplish can be done without a zoning change. They want to preserve the natural character. They can do that now. They want to build a generational house. They can do that now. They're saying they will work with a township to not build more than 3 houses. Well, they can't do that now. I do not see a problem that would warrant any change. That's my opinion here. I don't know if any other commissioners have any comments.
I got some questions. All right, so if I'm understanding this, I'll just use this as an example. You're saying that you'd have, let's say, a 12-acre lot or 12-acre lot and a 6-acre lot to get to 30 acres. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, so,
So you can come back up.
okay, thank you. I also did have a question that might be relevant to the John saying that he doesn't recall approval of a change from AGP zoning to the RP1 zoning. I'm curious if you recall applications for that requested zoning change?
No,
So
at no time.
you know, that's an important distinction, I think, that, you know, this is the first time that the Planning Commission, to John's recollection, has considered this application. And it's, you know, that, like, you know, we're students of the master plan as consultants as well, right? So we're reading that carefully, and you know, the master plan is a blunt instrument that looks categorically.
Can you stick to the question being asked by Mr. Carter?
Yeah, I mean, I am getting to it,
Okay.
but I will say that the master plan is a blunt instrument that kind of looks categorically, where we're trying to look at a particular property with sensitive environmental features that we want to protect. And having the smaller parcel size as a possibility that is under 10 acres would, you know, grant the ability to have those home sites be in an arrangement that, you know, you have 5.5 acre existing parcel that would remain, you know, in about that size, and another, you know, 5 to 7 acre parcel that could go right along that the contour line of that natural environmental feature to protect it, and then have the larger parcel be in the back that would be over 10 acres in size. So it'd be 3 home sites. And
I think we get what you're talking about here. What I'm wondering is, would it be possible to do a PUD in this area so they could get the 3 lots, but one of them being smaller? Is that possible?
Well, a PUD is always something somebody can apply for.
And they could do it within that area?
It is possible to do, if I recall correctly. Brent looks like he's gonna look, but that's obviously not what's under consideration.
No.
And so.
I don't think, John, I don't think we even have to talk that much about it.
We don't, it's a
not gonna
possibility,
pass.
it is a possibility, but the
Yeah.
challenge is, when we talk about sensitive features in natural areas and the master plan representing an overall policy of the community as opposed to something for an individual property, yes, that's true. And we always tell people, and I think we've mentioned it to John, Mr. DuPoy previously, we do have to look at things on an overall basis. We have to and I know we've said that many times to the planning commission as well as the township board, that it is incumbent on us to look at the community as a whole. We cannot look at parcels on a piecemeal basis, because certainly everyone is going to have something to say about, well, I believe my property should have this because I would like to make a generational home, or I'd like to do that. That's really not what's being applied for here.
I would say, what I'm thinking is, if they have some very compelling reason, maybe you're gonna find that they can't even do it. Can they do it?
Can they do a PUD?
Yeah.
They could apply for it, but they would need 40% open space. The
Well,
other thing,
you know what I'm thinking, John? We just tell them, look, come back with a PUD if they want, and convince you guys that that's better, that would be a better use of that land than that we have right now. That's what I would do.
well, and ultimately, I mean, it gets tricky because we don't want to make a particular recommendation that they do something, because what is in front of the planning commission
Right.
right now is this request.
Yeah,
And so we don't want to direct them. I don't think we would want to direct people in a certain, well, gee, the planning commission said it was okay. Well,
No,
I have a concern about that because we've also been trying to discourage PUDs. Part of the reason for that is to avoid situations, especially on relatively smaller pieces of property, where, you know, it gets tricky to try to retain that because of the potential cascading effect, similar to what we're talking
Do
about.
we have
with
any
rezoning.
PUDs in the ag?
I'm sorry?
Do we have any PUDs in the ag district?
I do not believe we
I can't think
do.
of any.
I do not believe
The
so.
gun club is.
I'm sorry?
The gun club is. The south property of the gun club is ag, and the north is, and then that whole thing is a PUD.
Actually, that's a technically, that's what's called a planned development district. That's also from many decades ago.
PDD.
Oh,
PDD, it's
double
from
D.
many decades
learned
ago. So it's kind of a holdover zoning district
Yeah.
that we no longer use. And that kind of ties into another conversation that I mentioned earlier about kind of these holdover legacy properties that are too small and so forth when we're trying to move into better compliance, which I think also that would be problematic for a PUD, is that in this instance, because of the ag zoning and the agricultural nature of this area, I don't know that a PUD would achieve that. And again, that's all very speculative, and I kind of hesitate to go there because of, we're just trying to, excuse me, evaluate what's in front of us.
Right, I was just throwing out another alternative for them to look at, but you're
The
hearing.
other consideration would be a application for a variance, right? And
I don't
know,
think you're gonna get that.
exactly why we submitted the application we did, right?
Yeah.
This would be the most reasonable application for us to submit for what the property owner.
Before you did it, you better talk with these guys and see what they would think.
Any other questions?
Nope, that's it.
Commissioners?
Yeah, I have a couple questions.
Yes, sir.
So housekeeping is a denial or approval, recommendation of a denial or approval. Either way, these folks will go in front of the,
Would go to,
in
they would
front
go
of the
on to
board.
the township board, they would, unless they opted to withdraw.
Uh,
fair enough, but I mean, there's,
But
this
that's the
isn't the,
process.
this isn't the final
Correct.
conversation for these folks. They could otherwise convince the board.
That's right.
Okay. My other question is, the memo and some of what was described talks about this. I certainly understand it being inconsistent with policy of the master plan, but there's also discussion in here about it being inconsistent with law or not compliant with law, and I didn't follow that. So could you, I mean, because I can't be in the business of accepting something accepting a proposal or an application that would put us in violation of law. So
Right.
But I didn't follow how that was actually occurred here, so.
Right, yes, it's a fair question, because in this particular instance, the rezoning would be the instrument to make it compliant, as it were, with law. So yes, you are correct, that there is some inconsistency there, but it's based on the current zoning district, not on a proposed zoning district. But that's the zoning ordinance law as it stands now.
The approval of the rezone would bring it into compliance with the existing law that's in the ordinance, right? We're currently non-compliant with the.
The 1 5.5 acre parcel.
10 acre
is-
parcel
It's
is non-compliant.
Right,
If I might clarify, it's that one lot is referred to as legal non-conforming.
Right.
We have such lots all over the community. And again, as you all know, oftentimes we allow development on those lots because you have to, as long as they can comply with setbacks and these kinds of things. And in those situations where people are enlarging lots to bring them closer to compliance, we approve those because you're moving closer to compliance. The challenge that we see is if you, again, this whole idea of seeking a variance as an alternative, we believe is the same situation, the same difficulties with setting precedent, going against policy of the township. So,
Do you have any other questions?
Nope.
Yeah, I'm just gonna reiterate, I don't see any problem, I don't see anything, I don't see any reason why we would do this. There's no problem here, there's nothing that we're trying to solve, there's no unique situation, it's not consistent with the master plan. I don't see any reason to recommend approval here. You can make one comment, yeah.
Forgive me, I feel incredibly ignorant, so thank you for your time, I don't want to waste it. I think the problem statement that I have as a landowner is the fact of this natural wetland area that separates the front of the larger parcel from the back, and thinking of how do I, if I would like to follow the law as it states, how do I allow myself to build the home on the property that doesn't kind of violate the natural contours in this wetland space of the land without creating something really irregular. So I think that's a question of my ignorance of, and I appreciate, Dan, your questions of like what steps do I do to try to live within the spirit of the law and the township master plan as it sits, because I think we very much align with that, and to do that in a way that is fitting with your goals and also the goals of not having multiple kind of flagged type parcels that then kind of really stand out. And so I guess that's my question.
What I would recommend for you, based on the information presented here, you're not conveying to me what you want to do.
Sure.
So it's hard for me to approve anything. We will likely recommend denial of this. I would recommend to you that you withdraw and don't go to the board and come back with more information on what you're trying to do.
Well, if I might,
Yes, John.
sorry,
Yes, go ahead.
if I might, I think the challenge here is that the applicant is making an assumption. They have this goal of trying to get to 3 houses, 3 homes here. And that's a goal that does not jibe with this property. It simply does not jibe with this property. I don't, in staff's view, if there are wetlands on the property or whatever, which we don't know, none of that's been presented to us. But the fact of the matter is that when we set a goal, or it's a desire, it's a self-created issue. It's not an issue of the land, it's not an issue of the master plan, it's not an issue of the zoning ordinance necessarily as a root thing. It's, hey, why can't I get to 3 homes or 3 lots or whatever? Ultimately, it's not the responsibility, if you will, of the township or of the master planner of the zoning ordinance to allow an applicant to get to that.
Yeah, and my issue, John, is nothing tells me rezone fixes that potential problem. Nothing presented tells me that. Whether you could zone this downtown Ada district for all you want. It doesn't tell me it solves the problem of what you're addressing.
Understood. Okay. And can I just ask for clarification, John? You said, so what I think I hear you saying is that even though the cumulative ownership of land is in excess of 30 acres, you're suggesting there's a way in which I may not be able to divide that into 3 10-acre parcels, and that would be rejected by the board.
Well, if you were to create 3 10-acre sites that would be code compliant, that could be done by staff.
Okay.
Administratively.
Okay.
We have heard conversation around wetlands and natural areas and these kinds of things. I don't know where those are. I don't know how that lays out with the potential lot divisions or any of that.
Okay.
We have not received any of that
Sure,
information
yep.
whatsoever.
Okay.
So it's difficult for us to say, you can do this or you can't do that, because we don't know. We don't know where the wetlands are. We don't know about floodplains or any of these kinds of things on the property. So those land conditions are unknown to us. But theoretically, if we set everything else aside and you just take a 31-acre site, obviously you could divide that into 3 10-acre parcels that would technically be code compliant.
Okay, wonderful. And then is there any theoretical way in which a proposal of 3 10-acre parcels would then be blocked because of wetland considerations that then would mandate kind of coming back to this forum for the same question again, to if we then had a more clear problem that we can then bring back up at that time to say, because of the irregularities of the land, that we require rezoning to be in compliance with the law?
That's
If John could speak, John, can you speak to that?
What we're talking about here, and a lot of this conversation is a process which I call planning on the fly. I try to avoid planning on the fly wherever possible. The what ifs, the how about this or how about that planning on the fly is something I think we best not do here.
I agree, and
Because I'm sorry, Rob.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna finish. Because what if we did a PUD? What if we did a this? What if we did a that? What about a zoning variance? That's planning on the fly. That's really, I don't think that's part of the conversation here. What the conversation is this is a proposal for a rezoning, and this is what's in front of the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission owes you consideration of that request.
Understood.
But it's really not, the Planning Commission, as helpful as they would wish to be, to be fair to you guys, you don't have to come up with any recommendations for the applicant to say, maybe you should try this, or maybe you should try that. You don't have to worry about that. Ultimately, that's up to the property owner to see what they want to do, or potentially find property in another part of the community where they could do more lots on.
So John, yeah, I just kind of want to wrap this up. Due to the number of applicants we have tonight, and these other ones are going to take a while. Like John said, I don't want to plan on the fly here. What is presented tonight, I don't think has any chance of getting approved. I recommend we
Well, you
will
need a
move forward.
motion, don't you?
Yeah, like we,
Rob, before you go
yes, go ahead.
Public hearing.
Yes.
Public comment.
Just giving my comments. I don't want to debate this to death. I don't want to debate on the fly. I think there's more work that can be done. There's more options, more alternatives, based on what's presented here. I don't want to debate this to death. So
thank
with that, I would like to close the comments of the commission and open the public hearing.
Can I ask one question?
Well, there is a public hearing, so you can come forward and, yes.
This would be my final question, if that'd be under 10 seconds. If it would be helpful to the planning commission for us to, either for this to be tabled or for us to withhold the application until another meeting where it's voted upon, for us to submit a site plan of a code compliant code compliant 3 10-acre parcels and 3 lot configuration under the RP1 zoning as a comparison.
So John, I'm gonna ask you that. Can they withdraw their application right now?
They can withdraw their application right now if they wish.
Okay.
If they submitted a plan for staff review that showed 3 10-acre sites that were code compliant, then we don't have a rezoning request. We don't
Right.
need a rezoning request.
So yes, you can withdraw your application.
But then you could see why the RP1 zoning would help to protect natural features on site, just for comparison. And
Yes.
I don't know if that would help inform the
Um,
discussion or not.
Again, that's kind of trying to do the application on the fly a little bit here. It's not been presented. It's not part of the package of information. that
Right.
we have.
I don't think it'll ever, we would do
No,
it.
well, no, we would not do that. So with that, with the public comment, does anyone else have public comment? John, I will close the public comment.
Well,
John,
technically, this is part of the public comment. We did receive
John, you have a letter.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you.
received a letter, basically echoing the planning department's sentiment that the request for the rezoning is inconsistent with the master plan and the surrounding area, and the deviation from what's zoned, and everything is a slippery slope that this individual would not like to see happen, and that was submitted by Thomas Korth.
Thank you. With that, I will close public comment. The applicant would like to withdraw the application, otherwise we will move forward.
And if they don't withdraw, that just means they get to come to the township board. Is that the next step?
That's correct. Township board, that's correct.
Okay.
If I withdraw now, do I get, I'm so ignorant about this, forgive me.
There is
Follow up with John after.
There is no refund of the fee because of the public notices and everything that's already been done.
And if he withdraws, the board won't have any discussion about it,
That's correct.
so there's no moving forward.
It is ultimately your choice.
I would,
No,
No, do you need a
We're about to make a motion.
we're gonna make a motion.
You can withdraw after the motion if you wish to do so, or decide to go on to the township board.
Back on the planning commission again.
But if I withdraw,
Then
there's
they're,
no.
then they're not gonna vote and he leave, is that understanding?
Just housekeeping. Okay. If, you are fine, sir. No worries. I understand. And we're here to try to help housekeeping, right? So, next step would be the planning commission to vote on this. That vote would be a recommendation to the township board. Mr. Carter happens to be the township board representative to the planning commission, so he carries this information forward, as does staff. If the request goes forward, you can do that. You have every right to do that as the applicant. You can,
John, you
Yes,
might
sir.
want to tell them who Tom Court is too.
Tom Korth is our township supervisor, so he's another member of the township board.
Two.
Ultimately, it's an individual that expressed that That's one vote.
Yeah.
But if you did withdraw, then the entire matter goes away. Whether you withdrew now before a vote or withdrew after a vote, but before the township board, you have every right to do that or to continue forward to the township board. You as the applicant have that right.
I think it's reasonable we can withdraw now.
Before a vote?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
It's up to you. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
If
Appreciate
that's
it.
true, then no planning commission vote technically is needed.
Understood. So we will move on then from our first public hearing. Thank you both.
Thank you, folks.
Appreciate it. And applicant has withdrawn their request. We'll move on to our second item. PVM District Development Plan Amendment with departures, the R3 zoning district, Unit 39, 7530 Watermill Drive, applicant property owner Oxbow. The representative would like to state their name.
Good evening. My name is Luke Rochaffer with Mosaic Properties. I will try to make this brief. Yeah, like you said, the subject property is in the Oxbow neighborhood, lot 39. We are requesting an amendment to the zoning setback for the front setback to 6 feet. As you can see in this location here, the front or the side is facing Face Street here. There are two problems or challenges with this site. The first of which are the two large utility boxes, as you can see on the left side of your screen, on the west side or the rear of the property.
Is that the correct location? Luke,
That
right
is,
there?
yes.
Okay.
Thank you, John.
Sorry for the folks on that side, if you don't want to rubberneck. Or down there, yeah.
The architect did the best he could to avoid these utility boxes, but the sheer size of that has caused us to go inside on the east side to 6 feet from the property line. The second main challenge is that the township indicated that the front of this property is on the east side. There are no plans for a drive or anything of that nature, and the home, in our interpretation, is that's the side of the house. So those two reasons are why we would like to move this to 6 feet. We spoke with the property owner to the east, and he, in a written email, I think we submitted that to you, an approved that he is okay with this 6 feet setback. Additionally, we plan to meet with him for a landscape plan to provide privacy to both homeowners here. So, yep, again, we're just requesting to move an approval for the setback to 6 feet.
Thank you. Appreciate it. John, you want to give comment?
Certainly.
Staff?
Certainly. This is a relatively simple request. As the commission knows, we've had previous requests within the Oxbow project as developments and houses have shifted a little bit or tweaked here, tweaked there, a little bit of nudge here, a little bit of nudge there. So what Mr. Rochaffer indicated was, yes, a setback distance of 6 feet being requested, whereas 10 foot is the minimum. And the frontage of proposed to be 92% as opposed to the 80% max. Those departures are requested as part of this development plan amendment for this home. You see the proposed design of this single family home. From a staff perspective, we have no concerns relative to the standards for the PVM district. Again, we have standards, right, and criteria for everything that we're looking at, and those are included in the staff report. From a staff perspective, we believe that this does meet those standards. We have no concern about that. And as you all have seen several times with the Oxbow project, there have been again, slight adjustments and things that have gone on here and there, which ultimately have not seemed to result in many difficulties at the Oxbow project. The project is moving along well. People have been moving in there, and things seem to be going pretty well. So from that perspective, staff has no objections to the approval of this request. The conditions listed there would apply. This is another one where, from a housekeeping perspective, it is a public hearing, so obviously if there's anybody that has any public comment.
Now, John, I get a little sensitive when it's up against another neighboring property, Mr. LaCroix here, but it looks like we may have already approved some reduction in setbacks to this neighbor. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay.
You might remember, it was probably three,
Like
4
about
months ago.
a 2-foot setback,
Right.
Mr. LaCroix?
Right, against, a little further to the north, if you will.
Yes.
If you recall that, we dealt with that
Yes.
maybe 4 months ago. I think we had that lot with that adjustment.
Okay.
That was done there too, yep. So you are right. I want to say that was, that lot right there.
What would be staff's recommendation if Mr. LaCroix was not okay with this? I don't like to make decisions based on a neighbor's opinion, but we set precedent now that it is okay for developers to put a building within 2 feet of a property line of a neighbor. I know this district is unique.
It is. In this particular instance, this particular request was not for the setback. The departure was not for the setback along Mr. LaCroix's property. This is Mr. LaCroix's property here, if you
Right.
look on this one.
Correct.
This setback departure was already approved a few years ago. The departure that's being sought now is back here on what you might say is the northwest side of the property.
Okay. Thank you.
That's the one that's being requested now. That is adjacent to that Watermill Drive. So, yeah, so that scenario does not apply here.
Then why is an email from Mr. LaCroix added that says he's okay with it and talk about the landscaping between their houses?
I don't know. Perhaps the applicant sought their approval anyway.
It's fine. It's irrelevant.
Yeah.
How do we handle situations like, I'm just curious for future projects that we do set precedent, it's okay to put a like, it looks like the one to the north, there's a building 2 feet from the property line.
Right. It is a site-by-site consideration.
Yeah, and I'm okay with Oxbow. I mean, we've offered a lot of variances there, and I'm usually okay with it with the road and sidewalk and next to each other. But once we can start infringing on neighbors here,
Right.
and we're in a situation where this neighbor's okay with it, and I'm just thinking long term here.
And it's a fair question, and this is where the unusual nature of the PVM overlay district comes into play. Because as we all know, that PVM overlay district does allow for that higher density of development.
Right.
Smaller lot lines, increased density of residential units, a variety, as you guys know, of units. You've got townhomes that are going in there, row housing. You've got duplexes, as well as single-family homes on small lots, sir, just like you're pointing out. So that's where the difference comes in. You know, unlike some other zoning districts where you require major setbacks, this is a more, I dare say, an urban-oriented zoning overlay district. Special conditions, special features, and in this particular instance, yes, we have smaller setback allowances, but also you might recall that Oxbow, when it was first approved, before most of you were on the commission, there is larger set-asides of open space as well, such as for stormwater management.
Understood.
He's got that wooded area
Yep.
toward the back. In a way, it's kind of like a PUD, but in more of an urban setting.
Rob, what I saw, looking at this, when we make this motion, we should reference the findings of fact and include them in the motion. That helps to show that this is unique, when I read through this, and gives us the protection that we're looking for.
Right. Right.
Yeah, always the findings of fact. We always
Yep.
recommend that.
Yeah, I don't have any issue with this recommendation. just thinking about future development and don't want to get into the Waxbow did it. I want
Well, and I
to,
think that's why we do have that specific language within the PVM overlay district is to allow departures. That
Yeah, yeah.
language is in
Sure.
there, knowing that there are unique situations to do so.
Mhm. Cool looking house too. Any other commissioner comments on this one? So we do have this is a public hearing. If there's no other commissioner comments, public hearing. So we will open this up to the public. Any comments? John, do you want to read the email based on the public hearing, or is that considered supplemental attachment? I know you read Tom's email.
Yeah, what,
Read Mr. LaCroix's email.
let me see if
It's in the packet.
unfortunately, I pulled my packet apart just.
It says, "I'm fine with the changes to the setbacks."
Okay, thank you.
Mr. LaCroix.
Sorry, Rob.
Be on record.
Thank you.
Um,
Mr. LaCroix, who is the neighboring property owner, to the
East.
east, I think you'd say.
If there's no other public comment, I will close the public hearing. If there's no other comments, we can move forward on this one.
I'll just ask a question. What's the plan if we don't approve this?
We will reevaluate and potentially come up with a solution, but this is our only plan as of yet.
Okay. Just curious, because we've been kind of open-ended with approving all these
The departures.
departures.
Yeah, and
To this point.
as Brent was saying, the departure kind of functions like a variance, but the standards are based on those PVM standards that we have in the staff report. So the criteria are not as stringent. It's more in keeping, and obviously, we all have to evaluate it based on our own value system, right? To try to establish consistency with the PVM overlay district.
Yeah, I guess I'm ignorant, but I'm trying to understand how we're surprised by those boxes. Right, and that wasn't part of the plan. That's the part I'm a little confused by.
Yes.
What was the surprise that caught you off guard there?
So the two surprises, what the utility boxes, for one,
Where were you planning on those going?
I would have to look at the plans. It's the sheer size that they took up because of the surrounding
Okay.
buildings around it.
So it's the size.
Correct.
They're bigger than, okay.
Correct.
Okay.
If I may speak to the design as well,
Yeah.
we have reduced the height of the building to fit the surrounding neighbors' homes. So it's 1.5 stories to fit the neighbor to the east and the other homes on the other side of Face Street. So we're trying to keep design in mind and size in mind at the same time, understanding that this is a unique project.
And I really do appreciate that, because that's what I was kind of getting with John here, is I got a 1-story ranch, and then I got a 3-story monstrosity 2 feet away, so, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that, you're doing a good job.
Thank you.
All right, would someone like to make a motion on this?
Motion to approve with the conditions and the findings of fact as noted in staff's report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, appreciate it.
This does not require going on to the township board, so this is the final approval for that.
Thank you, John.
Housekeeping.
We'll move to unfinished business. The PVM District Development Plan with departures for proposed 43,000 square foot 4-story building in the C1 PVM zoning district. Ken Dixon of Dixon Architecture on behalf of the applicant and property owners, PDL Ventures LLC with Jeremy Frost, located at 527 Headley, and this was tabled at our February 19 meeting. Come forward, Ken. You and Brad were duking it out for who comes the most, and now I think you might be pulling ahead.
Well, thank you for your time. We always appreciate your considerations for everything we do here. John, if I can
Oh, you
steer.
want to connect?
Yeah, you know me.
No worries. Just are you wired? Have you connected your wire
Yeah,
already?
just asked me if I was going to allow a
Just gotta
connection.
switch it to podium.
There we go.
There you are.
All right, beautiful. All right, so we're back. And it's always nice to come back with a response to what you guys left us with. We heard what you said. I think it was a 4-story, hard no. Like, it was right out of the gate. Like, 4-story, we're not going to go there. So we're not here to fight. We're not here to ask for, leniency and variances. We're coming back with a plan that I think you're going to be excited about. So first thing we did was we knocked off that 4th floor. That was pretty significant because the second thing you said was you need more parking. We're deficient on parking. Those were the big 2 takeaways from that meeting. Reduce that size and get us some parking. So they kind of helped each other out. So after knocking off 1 floor of office, the 3rd floor, maintaining that residential, we really think that's a really important component of this project. It's something we need. It's really neat. 3 units up there that I think is going to be really sought after. And also knocking off that 1 floor, we actually have a tenant that will likely take 1st and 2nd floor. So it's a nice 1-tenant type building, 3 tenants, 3 residential on top. It's beautiful. The taking off the floor still maintained its beauty of the Flatiron. It just feels win-win-win. So where we're at today, we had a variance for the 4th floor. We're striking that out of our request. We had the variance, I'm sorry, not the variance, but the departure for the materiality. I felt like that wasn't an issue when we were here last, but we're still asking for that. That's really focused on that residential component to try to keep the 2-story masonry brick kind of historic style that we've been working on, and then kind of disassociate that residential piece as a add-on, adding history, adding modernism to this old. It helps with just kind of legitimate making this more authentic with a historic village. So we're still asking for that one. And then the parking. The 3rd item was the parking. So we still didn't quite get there with on-site parking based on the office and residential. We're required 17.4 stalls. We are providing 15 stalls. We're utilizing that 1st floor to provide some covered indoor parking for those residential residents. That's a really nice way of saying it. On the 3rd floor, and then some nice parking for the office and visitors to that office, kind of special parking for them as well. So we've got 15. We're 3.4 or 2.4 short. We're adding 6 public parking stalls just off the property, part of the drive to the Amy Van Andel. They're close to this site, so we feel like we'll probably use those quite a bit to help people coming and going from this building. So I guess if we're asking for departure, we're 2.4 parking stalls short on site, but we have 21 total. 21 total, where we're required 17.4. I just want to take a hot minute and look at, okay, so if we're deficient, let's look at that parking study that was done by Fishbeck that we're all kind of studying. So immediately adjacent to us, Block 5. I've pinpointed where the Flatiron is building is, so you can see all those. I've labeled some of the buildings to try to, from my building, Dixon, to all the way up to Sammy Saladar's new building. There's 272 parking stalls based on what Fishbeck said. All the uses there require 160 stalls, so that block there's like 112 parking stalls in surplus. Now, some of that's going to help the future Township Hall, but there's surplus there, a good amount of it immediately adjacent to us. So let's take now the block we're going into, same type of thing. Fishbeck provided total parking stalls, how many they need based on the uses, and we're 153. So there's a pretty good surplus of parking. We're asking for 2.4 to provide, to help serve this just beautiful building for the village. And that wraps it up for me. I'll be here for questions, as well as Bill and Jeremy are here as well.
John, staff comments?
Sure. Mr. Dixon covered pretty much everything. As noted, obviously the building size has been reduced with the reduction or the elimination of 1 floor of office space. In addition, adding the parking to the first floor takes away space that you would otherwise have to calculate for parking. So in that sense, they've kind of cut back quite a bit because the amount of building square footage is significantly reduced, essentially by a little more than a floor and a half. So that cuts down your parking requirement pretty significantly. So the building size is now about 26,900 square feet. It has been reduced by 16,763 square feet. These are all approximates because the original size was nearly 43,700 square feet. So as you see, it's a pretty significant reduction. As Ken had mentioned, they are proposing entry into that parking area from the Amy Van Andel Library. I'm going to switch over just so that you can see the site plan, and I'll point to it. So yes, they are proposing access. They will require an access easement as well as approval of all of these improvements that would go on township property. They would require that from the township board for the access into the building, into the parking area on the interior of the building on that first floor. Installation of these 6 parking spaces, 4 here and 2 here, as well as this dumpster enclosure area, as you see here. So that all would be required. Let's see. We talk about parking. Parking is a very significant topic. And the situation here is, I often say that we see things in shades of gray. Things are not always black and white. A lot of times they're in shades of gray with regards to parking or setbacks or whatever. In this particular instance, because of the significant reduction in the parking shortage, if you will, down to essentially rounding to approximately 3 spaces, that was something that from a staff perspective we felt comfortable in because of the parking around the area, both on street as well as those 6 spaces that would be added. So it was a significant change from the previous request as far as that parking shortage. When you go from a large shortage, if you will, to a shortage of only 3 spaces, that really is, in staff's view, that was a significant change and something that we felt comfortable with as part of this project. Mr. Dixon talked about the 3 floors, so the village blockfront lot situation and the height allowance, that's all met. He also talked about now the only remaining departure being needed is for the metal cladding on the building from the architectural standards. Staff does not have an objection to that because of the kind of the variety of the architectural detail there, which is certainly a very interesting and attractive feature, if I dare say so. So that metal cladding, if you will, is the one remaining departure that would be needed. Quick note on parking. Parking by itself does not require a departure. You as the Planning Commission can approve a slightly smaller amount of parking as part of your overall site plan review. So it doesn't require a departure, it does not require a variance. There is language in the zoning ordinance that says as part of the plan review, the Planning Commission can approve that reduced number. So you have that opportunity. I make a couple of quick comments in the staff report about stormwater and utilities. They will need to obtain a stormwater permit. That's kind of a housekeeping matter. There are water and sewer lines available. Lighting is required to be directed downward. Plan notes do indicate that downcast type fixtures will be used, but that's something that I believe we included in the conditions of approval. So ultimately, staff does not have any objections to the requested approval of this amended development plan, which we believe does adhere to the overall PVM overlay district standards. If the Planning Commission approves this request, we would ask that they do so based on the findings of fact that are listed in the staff report, and it's a pretty extensive list. And again, it does include that requirement for getting township approval for the parking, the parking and the other improvements and the easement and so forth to be placed on the Amy Van Andel Library site. So that essentially covers staff report. Brent, anything else to add? Thank you.
Thank you. Ken, you mind coming up? The white, can you go to the bigger picture of it?
Do you want to switch back to Ken's?
Oh, you can do yours too. That's fine. So the white area on the left, Ken, based on your drawing, that's a parking garage. So why does it look like a art museum in your drawing?
Because AI generated that image for us. We run it through, yeah, it would be a parking garage. And I didn't mean to deceive you, that's just, we can't, if you've ever worked with AI. it's
Yeah,
sometimes
and I
hard to
know you can
control.
do fake windows and, you know, stuff like that. I'm just wondering how it's actually gonna look there.
Yeah, so we might, like, the first, maybe the first pane, maybe give it a little bit of a fritting or something so you don't see directly into the cars.
Yeah.
But I mean, it would be lit. It would be, it's a parking garage.
Okay, yeah, I figured it was, yeah, it's just to see,
Yeah,
it
no.
looks super sexy, it
Yeah.
won't look that sexy in real life.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing what AI can do.
Depends who's in
Unfortunately,
the window.
just can't control every bit
Answer
of
that
it.
to the architect, of course it is.
You discussed this new plan with Dr. Norman.
I have not.
Okay. That's still a little bit of an issue for me based on the whole situation there.
Understood.
You know, I get it, that's a civil matter, we're not gonna handle that here, but I'm just curious, there's 15 spaces there that you now take. I drive by that every day, and I've been looking at it every morning and every night on my way home from work, and that lot is 80% full every time. I'm trying to get an understanding of where do those people now park? You know, I just looked at Google Images, and his current lot in front is also 80% full. So, you know, the construction here, you don't need to answer this, by the way, this is comments for the commission. This construction now puts a burden on Dr. Norman and the library. You know, we're adding 11 spaces, which are private, which won't be owned, so we're taking away 15, we're adding 6, so we're down 9, and we add the burden of the parking for, I don't know how many square feet, a story and a half of retail space, or office space. That is still a concern to me, not to say we can't approve, but I would want to know, at least from Dr. Norman's perspective, do now his employees have to park somewhere else? That puts a burden on yet another business owner. We have this domino effect of passing the buck down to the next business owner. I'm not looking for an answer, a comment from you, that's more for the commission here. When I pulled up the Fishback study when you were talking there, this area, so I know you cited specifically, this would be block 6. So the peak occupancy is 83%. You are correct during the farmer's market. However, if you zoom in right where the Flatiron is, it is 90 to 100% only on farmer's market days. So I get that we're only used it there. But again, I'm wondering on a farmer's market day, you just have this domino effect down the road of just continuing to push this burden out and out. Maybe that's okay as a township where we want people to spread out, but still doesn't give me the warm fuzzies. I'll open up for other commissioners for comment here. Hold on. No, I want other commissioner comments first, and then, yep. Yes.
Go for it, Angela.
I've already communicated that Ada Township is a steward of the Amy Van Andel Library parking lot, and it's public property. If there were to become an access easement in terms of maintenance, snow removal, asphalt repairs, that type of thing, wear and tear, insurance, somebody hitting a car, what have you, I'd like to see that fleshed out and in writing as part of this condition.
It would all have to be addressed as part of an easement that would have to be approved by the township board.
But what is the benefit to Ada Township? I'd want to know what that is, given that it's public property. Why do we have to allow it?
What's in it for Ada?
What's in it for Ada?
To allow, is that what
Absolutely,
you're
and
asking?
It's very important.
Right.
So,
And, I mean, if Ken wants to respond to that, he certainly can.
if there was
And I
another,
think those are value calls. And
if there was another public value to the property itself, I could see trade-offs, but I don't see that. I see taking some.
Yeah, I mean, one of the easy benefits is one of the tenants that's occupying in here, and actually I think there's like 3 or 4 Ada residents that are actually going to be occupying this building. So providing another opportunity for a business of local residents to work down in the village. I mean, that's one benefit I see available. Jeremy, Bill, do you guys want to comment all on that? The benefit of using the Amy Van
You can
Andel
come forward and state your name.
access agreement, how it better serves the community.
My name is Bill Payne, part of PDL Development. If I understand the question, it is on the constant use of that Amy Van Andel parking lot property. I understand the issue, and I think it's something we would have to work out through the easement with the Township Board. I would only add that that parking lot will be primarily for specific customers of the financial institution that's going in there and the residents up above. Based on what we anticipate relative to the residents that most likely will live there, I think there's a good chance that this will be a second residence for them, and therefore, I don't think this is gonna have 10,000 cars a day like it is downtown going into Ellis parking lots. So I appreciate the concern, and certainly it's something that we would wanna make sure we address and make sure that it doesn't put additional, undue burden on the township. It's just not part of who we are or what we do. Yeah.
Might I add to those comments? I think Mr. Payne's, I understand Mr. Payne's comment. If I understand it correctly, you're not going to have a high volume of traffic using that driveway, even specifically for this building, with the 15 stalls that are within the interior, with the relative limited amount of traffic, even as compared to the traffic that uses the library parking lot, because that's probably a 45, 50 space total parking lot. So you've got a lot of in and out traffic there.
Couldn't you convert this into a hair salon with 50 chairs though? 10 years down the road?
50 chairs would probably be a tall order because it's a.
Yeah, you know what I mean though.
I do.
Where?
It could happen, but just based on the type of space this
I could
is.
convert the whole bottom to a bar, but I want 60 people in every Friday night.
But could we, right? We gotta get permitting on that.
Yeah,
So
I'm
we'd
just
have to-
wondering,
we'd have
yeah.
to-
I get it as it stands now, I don't have an issue, but
To your point.
thinking down the road.
Sure, to your point, even if somebody across the street wanted to do a pub, right? Those people could theoretically park in the library parking lot because that's a public parking lot 24/7.
No, I get it.
365. So that comes into play. The other thing too that we often talk about is the nature of the downtown area, right? Being more of a pedestrian environment. I think Justin knows where I'm going with this. And that is that.
No, I don't.
No? It looked like you had a knowing smile on your face.
This is an encouraging smile. Go, John.
Okay, all right, thank you. In any event, I appreciate that. In any event, but cutting down on the total number of driveways and intersections and points of conflict between pedestrians and vehicles by being able to utilize shared access points can be an advantageous thing instead of having a driveway next to a driveway, next to a driveway.
Yeah,
and sites.
I totally.
So those are things, in my view, Ms. Butterfield, that are potentially advantageous as well with utilizing a shared driveway and trying to reduce conflict points. And I also see that here because we kind of have this emerging civic center vibe, if you will, here. We have the library and community center. You have people walking there. I walk there myself quite a bit. I see others walking. Whether it's old guys like me or young families or whatever. You also have, ultimately, we are talking about the Township Hall across the street. So you are going to be seeing probably a more active walking environment there to the western portion of the downtown village area. So that kind of thing I see as potentially beneficial with not as many conflict points of, driveway, vehicular versus pedestrian, so just to throw that in.
To talk about Angela's point a second, so I understand this. All right, this whole idea of those parking stalls and using that drive, you're gonna have to negotiate with the township, which would probably be the township board, correct? All right, so we'd be putting faith that the township board would do this correctly. Now, the thing I'm thinking, we put this together, what do we do? I mean, do we enter into you guys probably want a lifetime agreement, the township board may want, every 5 years to relook at this, right? How would that impact, if we looked at something like that?
Yeah, typically those are just deeded ingress, egress easements. They're not reevaluated every 5 years or 10 years or so. They're kind of, easements, they're recorded documents.
That's what you guys are looking at. I wonder how the board's gonna look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, because, and I'll just say this, here with Rob's point about, a change of use, I could see where the board would look at that and say, well, geez, when we approved this, we were thinking the use was gonna be this. And now it's gonna be something, 180 degrees different.
how would it be different?
Well, like you said, what if you put a beauty salon in there, okay? What if the new owner came in and said, I wanna make it all residential, or I wanna make it all office, I don't think there's anything that would stop you from doing that.
But I think there will be, because we have to get building permitting, so it has to pass in front of John for permitting. So it does, if the parking increase shoots through the roof, there may be an opportunity that the township could say.
You know what, and you might be right, but I don't know whether building permitting, if that could be restricted because of parking, or how many people are gonna be using the building, and I'm just throwing that out there. And I'm
Well, if we
probably
fol-
ahead of it.
Dan, from the last meeting, if we follow there won't be any cars in 10 years because they'll all be electric.
That's what I
So
was
we
smiling
won't,
for,
I
John.
mean,
You
if we're
said
gonna
that, I was
use that, if
hearing
we're,
that.
if we're
Yeah,
gonna use
You're
that
right.
theory,
Yeah,
then I think we gotta play it both ways.
yeah.
I mean, there could
Well,
be
and-
less cars.
And you know what, that would be a good, that's a fair comment when
Right.
we talk about putting an agreement together,
Yeah, I
with
mean,
the board.
yeah, but we can't say, to us, well, you may change the building if in 10 years there won't be any cars anyway.
Yeah.
So we won't have to
All
worry
right,
about it.
bottom line is, I think that concern really is gonna end up being the board's concern. And we just gotta hope that the board, negotiates something that protects the property.
Well, I have pretty good faith in the current Board of Trustees that they keep a pretty good eye on things, so, yeah.
And the township legal team, right? That will definitely
Yes,
review any
exactly,
easement agreement.
yeah.
Planning Commission champion.
Yeah. I'll tell you what my concern on this is that we've got private parking going into a downtown area that we just don't, that's not ADA. That's not the ADA way to have a private parking lot, or at least it shouldn't be the ADA way to have a private parking lot, especially when we're saying that we're taking advantage of an opportunity to reduce parking because there's other public parking, and it's like, it just kind of feels a certain way to me that we're getting to the number of parking spots that we're getting to because of the ability to use public parking to supplement, but yet the public won't have access to these new sites. Would there be an opportunity to make these parking sites open to the public?
Yeah, just to that specific, I mean, John,
Can you identify yourself
yes,
just
say
for
your
the
name.
yeah, sorry,
record,
Jeremy Frost, PDL Ventures, thank you. Yeah, I think, most of the developments, are requiring private parking. I mean, the PBM district in itself, by nature, requires private parking to be met without any kind of variance, but, and so, we wanted to provide that specific so we can meet the requirements of the PBM district. And then supplementing by adding the 6 parking spots so that, we're meeting the required amount and adding parking. And I think when you heard that when we talked last meeting, that those public spots out there are an additive to the library, because we can't guarantee that our tenant is gonna be able to use those spots, cause they're public, right? Anyone to the library. So we feel that that's additive generally to the parking. So, because
I might help or add to your points, Jeremy, if I might. So this is the private parking being provided. It just happens to be interior, right?
With the, what I understand you as well as a garage door, right? Yeah, so.
Right. So to that point, there are many, many other sites within the downtown that have technically private parking. The Dixon Architecture site with the Lown Homes and those
Right.
locations. The office building on the corner opposite Speedway has private parking.
Devin Norman.
Dr. Norman's property has private parking. The, and on, right, have private parking. One area where there is common parking is like Blocks A and Block B. That's a little bit different, but otherwise, the parking is site-specific to each.
I think the difference though, like what Justin is getting at, like, I'll just pick on Dr. Norman, that's private parking that the public can and does use during events.
That's
This
true.
is not accessible to anyone.
That's what I'm,
That's true. However, if Dr. Norman or any other property owner wished,
Yes,
they
you could
could
tow 'em
put a
all.
gate up
Yeah.
or put a chain across it or whatever they wanted. And these these spaces here, though, these 6 parking spaces here
yeah.
are public.
And that's my point though, is like, we're putting, if you put in a garage door, that's opening Pandora's box too. Dr. Dixon now putting up Dr. Norman, excuse me, putting up we talk a lot about becoming territorial over our parking, and like I started off by saying, like, that's just not what I perceive to be the spirit of Ada. I get it, you own the lot, but you also, there's give and take here. We're now potentially looking at, for the first time in our downtown area, having an actually, barrier to what would otherwise be public parking. And, like I said, I like it. I like the building. I love everything about it. If the parking could be public, I don't think anyone's going to want to park there. Anyway, it's not a perfect solution. I get that, but it gets us a really awesome building.
You want to make the parking underneath the building public?
I'm just saying, it's kind of ironic that we're presented with a building here. Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So, yeah, but they are required to provide their own parking, and again, yes, every property owner can choose to designate parking for their own people because they are required to provide it. So yes, the difference in this case is it's an interior lot as opposed to an exterior lot, but there's nothing stopping anybody from having a gate or so forth. The other thing that's interesting too on this is that even though it is interior parking, and even though there would be a automated garage door, presumably for access, is there are some space efficiencies though. When we think about our downtown, the fact that we don't have large open parking lots, and in fact, we have this underneath a building. So in a way, there are some space efficiencies that are achieved there, not unlike you see in central cities where they are trying to, reduce the massing, if you will, or the large seas of asphalt. So there is some aesthetic benefit, if you will, and land use planning benefit to this by encouraging some efficiency in land use by being able to have a building or additional building space over a parking area instead of just having seas, various seas or oceans or lakes, if you will, of asphalt parking lots.
Just the controlled access to the lot.
Understood.
Is what I
Yeah.
have.
I'm not trying to discount your point, I'm just trying to
I'm just clarifying.
offer a variety of perspectives.
Are visitors to the business, the intention would be to have them park in somewhere other than within the garage space? Like a visitor to the business wouldn't be granted access?
Yeah, so, preliminary discussions, but intention would be visitors would generally be parking inside the lot and inside the building.
Also,
Yeah,
visitors wouldn't be
visitors-
able to access.
Well, that's
Yeah,
better.
So,
So that's-
now,
You're welcome.
again.
How do they get in?
Yeah, but how do they get in?
Oh, there would be access, they would control access through, Yeah, again, the type of client would have, you know, known access. There would be, I mean, there's always the potential, I mean, there's gonna be other type of, visitors or such that might park other places. I mean,
Well,
but
the
the
intention
intention
is-
would be,
yep.
you know, primary use for a visitor that comes to that building for a meeting with the financial institution would be parking, and that's one of the primary benefits for that institution is they can have that, you know, kind of VIP access. Now, walk-up customers or something like that, I mean, they're gonna park where they decide to park.
Is the intention, I know that this can change over time, and I'm holding to this, but is the intention that the on-site garaged spots will be enough for outside of visitors to the business, the employees at the business and the residents? Or is that too
I
tough to-
suspect it wouldn't be, given the general requirements, you know, when we look at office of 301 to 300, you know, in the PVM district, right, that, you know, looking at the numbers, and John kind of, you know those better, that there's an assumption there that they're gonna use part of the general parking that, I mean, and to address concerns about the library, you know, specifically, I mean, the direction would be employees not parking in the library, right? I mean, and having other places just right across the street, you know. We have public parking available that's generally always open except for farmer's market, and then with the new Township Hall, anticipated that that's gonna grow, so I'd anticipate the employees would probably utilize that.
Could we, and I'm probably getting ahead of myself, but could we make that, you know, when we talk about a use agreement with the township, could we make that a requirement? That, for example, no employee use of that library parking lot?
How would you enforce that?
If they got caught.
Township does not want to be parking
Yeah, if
place,
they got
right,
caught.
John?
Yeah, if they
You're
got
gonna
caught,
say?
they're in violation of their agreement.
What?
I would look at a meter made out,
Right.
that we have no
Yeah.
parking enforcement. It would be just impossible to enforce.
Well, I don't, you know
I mean,
what?
from a township perspective, that would be very, very difficult to enforce.
If they're doing it every day, okay, that's what happens. I mean, I got parking lots. You find the people that are cheating, that park in your parking lot every day. So, I could see where, what we're doing is trying to protect that public parking. So it would be up to them to police it.
Wonder if you could institute like a permit where you only issue 10 permits, and I get it, like if you're not, there's no one out there to tally up and say, hey, you're not, but, you know, just maybe by good human nature.
Do you think we should stick on track and not try to,
That's what I said. We're getting ahead of it.
Yeah, let's not
We're
try to
getting ahead of
solve the
ourselves.
parking problem.
Yeah.
So,
Blaine?
for the
go ahead.
record, I just want to say, I really appreciate the covered parking. To John's point, I think it's actually fantastic. I'd love to see more of it. I'm tired of seeing so many cars parked in that area. So I'm generally very supportive. I think it's great. I'd love to see more businesses doing that. And I do think there are actually, I mean, some residences I think are doing that already. I think down by the park, by Luna's, there's some covered parking in there as well, same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Generally, I think it's very similar. So I just wanted to kind of say for the record, I'm very supportive of that. I think it's great.
I have a question maybe for staff outside of parking.
Yeah.
So are we to consider any factors in granting the departure on the building exterior variations or deviations? Are we supposed to be taking into account something when we grant, if and when we were to grant an approval of that?
I'm sorry I didn't put anything in the staff report about that. However, similar to the meeting the spirit of the PBM, as we talked about with the previous request at Oxbow, it's those same standards, right? Does this meet the spirit and intent of the PVM district as it relates to the design and the planning and the layout and those kinds of things? That's really what this is. And I think as Ken had pointed out, there are other locations, other buildings in the downtown area where this kind of accessorizing has been used, where metal cladding has been used to help complement the overall building.
So in your review of those factors, none of them are notable enough for us to take up for any meaningful discussion other than what you just described. I mean, I appreciate
Right.
what you just described is helpful. to-
Right. From a staff perspective, we don't see those in in conflict whatsoever, if that makes sense, Steve.
Yep.
Oh, we do say the spirit and intent within there, my
Yeah.
mistake. There you go. Okay.
1B.
Oh, 1B, okay. The
Hate to-
plan that complies with special medium district to a greater
Right.
degree than would be possible without the approval of departure.
I just wanted to make sure if there were things we were supposed to be.
Oh,
thinking
actually,
about
yeah,
and
it's
talking
actually
about.
all of one.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
Yeah.
my mistake, sorry. So those are all those
Those are all the
standards
criteria that we need
within,
Yeah.
within item 1 of the suggested conditions.
Okay, great.
Sorry.
Justin, you had some?
I just hate to be a dead horse, but going back to this restricted access parking, I will clarify, is if we're gonna say now we don't want, if we're gonna dissuade people who are going to be in the building all the time from using the parking lot that's always there, doesn't that seem counter to what we're trying to say? Wouldn't we want that parking lot to be accessible, easily accessible to people who are gonna be in the building versus making the people who are gonna be in the building park elsewhere and have this private, unaccessible parking lot
I mean,
readily available for a hypothetical use?
who would want to park in public parking when they have covered parking available?
Right, exactly. What I'm saying is we're having these 12 spots now. Is it 12 spots or 15 spots in there? 15 spots? Right, 15 spots. How many are going to residents?
3?
Oh, you mean the public one?
Yeah.
May I clarify for?
Yeah, sure.
The intention is that that would be full, right? When I talk about, I think the question was on customers.
Uh-huh.
They would want to leave a few for customers, because employees, so.
How many employees are you
residential
gonna have
for sure.
here?
Pardon?
How many employees are you gonna have? Would you guess?
I don't know, yeah, I
You got
don't,
10 to start.
yeah, 10 to start.
And
but
then 50 eventually?
no,
I mean,
No, I don't. No,
Right,
I
so
think
that's-
it-
that-
Capacity is.
and I will be, like, that's my issue here, is like, I don't know if there's gonna be 50 employees, and now you take all of that, you take all the street parking, you take all the Van Andel, library parking, and we have a parking disaster here.
Well, I think, but John, it fits, that's where we have the PVM, PVM district requirements that
Right.
align with the parking study that fits in it, and it meets those requirements.
Yes.
So it meets the requirements for.
Well,
the
you're
necessary-
requesting a deviation for parking.
Well, I understand, whether it's a deviation.
And the issue
or a
is you're
question-
taking away 15 spots and you're adding 6.
May I respond to that?
Yes.
Part? So, in respect to Dr. Norman, we didn't talk to him specifically about the project, because that's for you
Yeah.
guys to decide. With the parking, we did approach and thought diligently on this. We own the lot, so we don't necessarily have to replace his parking, but
Right.
we did look at, on the north side where the pump house is.
Yes.
Ken actually put some drawings, would be out of the scope of this discussion, that we would suggest that the township talk to Dr. Norman about access, and creating additional public parking, that you could create 15 to probably 25 spots, that he could coordinate with the township, and invest in that parking, to be able to.
Where do you access that from?
Right off from the town, or right from the library parking lot. So kind of the northeast end of the library parking lot.
Yeah.
And so Ken has drawn that up. We've shared that with planning, and certainly conceptual, but we did want to consider that, we would be, that would be space that Dr. Norman would no longer have. And so we wanted to offer an opportunity, no different that if he were to purchase the property from us, he would have to pay for it. And then, we would suggest that he'd consider talking to the township about paying for building parking that would be public as well, or private. That's for you all to sort out, but additional spots that would be actually more than what's currently in his lot.
But that's not part of this application, so.
Correct.
Yeah, I just offer that because I think I want to honor,
Yeah.
especially your comments about that, that we did consider that.
Jen, do we open this one for public comment? It's tabled? No.
This is not a public hearing.
Okay.
So you're not required to do public comment. You can if you choose to, but it is the choice of the commission.
I'd be entertained if there is any public comment on this one. No.
Yeah,
You'd have to come up, state your name, address.
Yep, my name is Zach Schaff. I'm a resident, actually live in town. I can almost see this from my house. But I love the idea of buildings like this because they add a very unique character to a township. The only thing I'd point out is this is also a very unique building in that it has no back because the parking faces the front of the library and the new township hall. So there's a really interesting piece there, but like these are fantastic buildings because they add a really unique character. That's like everybody knows what the Flatiron looks like. I mean, these are called that for that reason. It's a very fun and different take on something. It adds a new kind of flavor to the town. I have no issue with the indoor parking. I would just point out that there's no back on this building, so it's going to be a fun challenge for Ken to make all the sides look great. But
Thank you.
That's it.
Appreciate it. Any comments?
Well, I'll tell you this, I just did my math on it. Yeah, according to this, it'll have 11,000 square feet of office space. And typically, you'd probably have 20 to 30 people in there, based on that amount of square footage. And if you think about it, to have 100 people in there, you'd be, every person would be in 100 square feet. That's just that is impossible. So, you're gonna be limited. I like the idea.
I like the idea too. I like the building. I like the covered parking. The parking is still an issue for me.
I think, my feeling is the parking's gonna get hammered out when we start talking about how we handle this easement and everything that's gonna happen. So.
John, when the easement is handled, can there be more spaces added to the library as part of that requirement? Because I see they have like 2 spots for like bikes. Could they require that's parking? I know there's some spots on the north side of the parking lot at the library right now. There's some topography there. You need a little bit of retaining wall. You could add more spots there. Could that be part of the easement that they would have to add more parking there?
That would be up to the board to dictate that, as it were, to say, hey, we will work with you on this easement, but you would have to add spaces. That would be up to the board, presumably, to negotiate that through Julius as our township manager, with the board, with the developers, Mr. Payne.
Because I don't want them to add more parking on the current space. I don't want a whole floor of parking, You guys got pretty creative. I think you did a good job there. The building itself, I don't have any problems with. I think it looks good. It's a good use of space, like the residents said. It looks cool. Just, I am concerned with the burden we add to our other buildings and business owners. That's all. And if that can also be addressed at the board level, with Dan here and the board.
What would that look like?
I think it'd have to be hashed out the easement. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm one of the guys that would be involved in it, I don't know. So, but I guess I'm starting to get an idea what I would,
The library would add additional spaces with a green space,
You know,
right? Beautiful building, I don't think
Yeah.
it's necessary. I wouldn't put the burden on the township.
right,
I agree with that.
yeah, right. Well, you don't put the burden on the township. They would put the burden on them, as we figured out how to do this.
Right, and what is here is kind of like we talked about with the rezoning. This is the plan that we have, right? And there is a condition on there about getting the township approval for these other matters, right?
Does this go for township approval then after we approve it?
The plan does not,
Okay,
but obviously the access and the parking
That
spaces and
does.
all of that, that obviously requires township board approval.
Will there be
approval.
public hearing for that or any other?
There would not. It would be a negotiated thing between the two. I mean, there would need to be approval at a township board meeting. There is public comment at every township board meeting. But per se, there's not a public hearing required for this particular type of thing.
but there would be adequate, if people wanted to make public comment. There's 2 public comment sessions in every board meeting.
Yeah, I want to see more than 6 additional new parking spots created. But I'll leave that up for the board to decide with the easement, since it's not on this property. Correct me if I'm wrong, John, that was really not even part of this approval, correct? Because it's off their property, so.
That's correct.
It's a moot point,
It's
so.
part of the, it would be part of the easement conversation between the board
Yeah.
and Bill and Jeremy.
So I'll put my confidence in Dan, that he'll take care of that.
And would,
In the board, yeah.
and let's say that the township, the board says no to the access easement, the rest of this approval then,
Does not happen.
okay.
I mean, this project would not go forward. From a technical perspective, you're approving it as a condition of approval, right? So if all the conditions of approval cannot be met, then this project is defunct.
Can we add a condition of the approval for the DDA to approve as well, now that we are putting them in charge of being the parking police?
I'm not sure
Okay.
that there'd be an opportunity to do that. What
No.
would that, I doubt it.
I don't know, because I know from the Fishback parking, we want the DDA to take that over.
I see.
I don't want the planning commission to be the park, I don't want us to just hammer parking over and over.
Right, and, yes, ultimately, that's for the township board and the DDA to decide.
Okay.
You're right, though, the planning commission, to take the burden off of you, you don't have to dictate any of that or make recommendations on any of that. The only thing you have to do is, as simple as it sounds, simple but complex, is to review the plans that come in front of you and to review them and evaluate them as they are. and vote on them as they are presented to you. Kind of like we talked about with the rezoning.
Right. I appreciate the feedback you guys took last time. I think you took all of it into, you implemented it very well. I'm curious what your parking garage front is gonna look like instead of an art museum, but I trust you, Ken, your stuff looks good. Yeah, I think you made a great effort to incorporate our feedback from last time, and like John said, the parking on the library portion can be handled by the board. So
Let me ask, could, with regard to that parking garage and how it looks, could we add another condition that would have to be reviewed and approved by the planning?
yeah, because it's obviously not gonna look like what they showed.
Yeah. Could we add that as a condition, John?
What is the desire?
Well, what the desire is, what is that gonna look like? I mean, like if you think about what some of the parking ramps look at, like downtown, where you could look right into them and everything. I don't think we'd like to see that.
Right.
Okay, so could we put a condition in there that says, we approve all, with these, 6 or 7 conditions, add another one, that the planner, the township planner, would need to approve the final look, if you want to call it, or whatever, of that parking garage, and from the outside.
What I might point out is that there are some renderings.
Right.
And Mr. Dixon, I would ask if you can point those out on your information, because there are renderings that show the materials and the proposed
Yeah,
appearance.
but we're saying like,
on the-
it's not real though.
I think I have a really good response to this. So the B6 building, Buttonwood, down at the end of town, there's a garage there. When we went through the approval of that process 6, 7 years ago, we don't want a blank facade. So we're putting the window in there to hold that rhythm of the architecture of the walking, the streetscape and whatnot. We put a window in there, but then we frosted it, and that was approved. If that's good with you guys, we would do the same for this exact project.
Well, can we-
Hold the architecture, still put the windows in, there'll be some illuminance through, but you won't see it into the cars.
Can we add that as a condition? Because,
Totally.
unless we do that,
You did back in, 7 years
did,
ago, that was a
Yeah,
condition.
I agree. If this is just a straight brick wall, which I really trust that you would never do that. I'd be annoyed.
Me too, yeah.
The only challenge, if I might, I know I need to get near a microphone. I was gonna make sure that door was closed. The only challenge is if you leave that to staff, that's fine if you are comfortable with it, because I want to make sure that people say, thank you, I was gonna go do that.
Oh, I think, John, I think what he's saying, what we could do is just add a condition that the windows will be frosted so that you can't see.
I see, so it's
Yeah.
a very specific.
Yeah.
Very specific condition, there you go.
Yeah.
And there are, it's already, it may already be in there. so-
Ignore the art gallery, that's the
Right.
architecture you're
Okay,
getting.
all right, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's spectacular. It's
And those
really
windows,
Well, looks great.
pleasing.
and those windows will be frosted.
Sure, you bet. If you do not want to see into the, I'm trying to balance like transparency but if we frost it with a light frosting and light and shadow and things and movement, like, then we get some
Yeah.
correlation between the inside and outside.
Do you want that as a condition, or are you doing?
Yeah, I think that'd be good.
Okay, so
Yeah,
we'd add
no
that.
problem.
You can add that if
Yeah.
if it's the will of the commission. That's specific thing, if it's not already identified within your renderings.
Stupid AI, just
I mean,
can't trust it.
I see it I certainly see it in the renderings, I saw it before, but so how much different, and I know you keep saying stupid AI, how much different does this picture
Well,
gallery
it
look?
renders, so the food
We're-
truck, the cars, the people,
Well, yeah.
we use it to add entourage and make it look real, and the sky and whatnot, but no, it holds the architecture pretty good, but again, it rendered what's on the inside. We can't
Right.
necessarily say, don't.
So like the people who are in the through the windows in the building, that would
You'll
not
see
be
them
the
on the
case.
second floor, first
Yeah.
floor, you really wouldn't see it, right?
Oh, that's right, second floor is actually office space.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right,
Yeah.
yeah, my bad.
Yep.
Be
Yeah,
cautious.
I'm not
I'm
trying to
with you,
deceive.
I know you're not.
So the condition of approval, Brent and I were just speaking, to make sure that we have clarity, right? We don't want to have too much general, is that only the first floor windows facing Headley would be frosted. Does everybody have that same understanding? Only those that are garage windows facing Headley, but also facing.
Yeah, what about
I
those?
think that-
All the garage windows?
Yeah.
All the garage windows,
No.
No, that's not the garage.
Sorry, the
Yeah.
upper windows, yeah.
The what?
garage
Yes.
windows only.
Garage.
Yeah, not the second floor.
Just garage. Yeah.
And just
Want your
the
people to
garage
see
portion of
out.
the first
Just
floor,
the garage portion of the first floor, those windows that are
on all three sides.
garage exposed, if you will.
There are gonna be fancy cars in there. I don't know why we're hiding.
John, one of the,
Exactly.
what's that?
Get with that condition? We can
I'm good with that condition.
Switch gears a little
I,
bit?
I,
I'm
I
on-
just, this is what I wrote down. Garage windows to be first floor garage windows to be frosted on all three sides.
Oh, that's true.
The other side is actually glass block. It's high glass
Well,
block.
I don't even think we care, because the other side faces into your
Yeah, it's
building.
two
don't it?
sides. There's two sides that will frost, the other side's glass block.
Can't help that if
That faces Dr.
transparency
Norman.
requirements.
Well, I mean, that is how we addressed it with the
It's
Button
glass
project.
block, you can't
We
see.
didn't want to see into the garages, but we wanted to hold that window opening and that
just
size and that scale
leave
and
it at
that
just
that
garage
proportion.
I can't recall if there was a departure required for that, though.
So we talked about it, we said, we strategized, we said, do you want, I think we said a vegetated wall, do we want to put a vegetated wall?
Right.
We're trying to decorate, so what would traditionally be a blank wall, we said, do we want to do murals? Do we want to do something here that, and we set on holding it with a window that's frosted would look the best for the village. But, I mean, really kind of open to suggestions, I mean, we were back and forth, we did that a couple years ago, and that was the end result back then.
Lane, you got a comment?
Not about that one.
Yeah, not about something else.
Are we done with that?
Yeah, I'm moving on. I'm keeping it
Just wanna
moving.
Make sure we're good, okay. We haven't talked at all about the trash.
There's a bin.
The bin.
Yeah, it's tucked around the back.
Yeah, yeah, I'm aware of that.
I'm sorry.
So I think, so with staff's comments, right, one of the conditions that we're discussing here, is to have a dumpster enclosure. So what it was, so I guess maybe it could be more of a question for John and staff, but when we say an enclosure, what does that really mean?
Dumpster enclosure?
Yeah.
A dumpster enclosure is kind of like we have across the alley here, where it is a walled structure.
Okay. Three sides.
no ceiling to it,
Right.
open to the sky,
Okay.
with gates.
Like McDonald's has it.
Gates.
6 foot tall, so it hides the
Got it.
dumpsters.
Almost every,
and
I
all
think
that.
every business has it. Right?
It's a good point. I mean, because,
I have some follow-on comments, please, yeah, go ahead.
well, yeah, because in the city of Grand Rapids now, they can't have wood.
So,
They have to be some type of masonry. And so do we require that we want that to be masonry? So,
That was one of the things I wanted to touch on, was like how, when we say an enclosure, do we want to be a little more specific than that? Because I'm thinking about just, again, the Amy Van Andel Library and the kind of beauty of that.
I mean, Amy Van Andels is right there.
Right, exactly.
staring right into
Very
it.
busy.
Just on the other side of, dumpsters
But-
are also smelly and, you know, so I'm just, might be a topic we discuss here a little bit.
this dumpster probably won't be, they're smelly if they're doing, if you got restaurant operations.
Yeah, I'm just pointing out, it's in the very corner.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, there's not gonna be a food operation here. It will be distant from pretty much any other use, so that should help. I wanna go back and talk about the windows.
Okay. Well, wait a minute. Do we want to end this on the,
Can we finish this topic first?
yeah,
Okay.
let's finish.
Otherwise, we're bouncing around.
Yeah. Do we want to say that it needs to be masonry? I mean, how do you guys feel about that?
I would like that.
I mean, that's a requirement in the city of Grand Rapids now.
What's the library's enclosure currently?
What's the library's
Their front is wood, I'm pretty sure. I don't know what their sides are.
Yeah,
I
the
don't know either.
gates are typically wood or
Yeah.
a composite
We want it to
Material.
in conformity with the
Yeah.
building. I mean, sorry.
That's fair, yeah.
Pretty confident Ken will make it look good. Not too worried about that.
It's just a
I mean,
thought.
it would match if
Yeah.
it was masonry.
I'm not opposed to adding it, but
Let's
I
just call it
also
let's just call
have
it
a lot
masonry.
of
Let's
trust.
just call it
Well,
masonry.
I'm not suggesting masonry, I just want, we should probably talk about that to make sure we're,
I think they're agreeing to it, so let's put it in.
We'll blend it in.
do we want that to look substantively different than the library's enclosure?
I think we could let them decide on that,
Okay,
but I'm hoping that you guys will
okay.
kind of
Match
duplicate.
building materials of the construction here to kind of blend it in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
And I would presume then the way this is designed, with that easement, a truck would be able to get in there, back up and all of that good stuff.
As
So,
a matter of fact, we have that detail.
yeah, I assume so. Yep, okay.
Somewhere in here. Yeah, right there, the center one here.
Yep, okay, cool.
Because if you didn't have the dumpster, what, you'd have to have daily trash pickup or something? I mean, what would be the, there has to be an alternative.
I don't know how you do it.
Does anyone else have to do
I'm just curious. No.
No, I don't think so.
most businesses do. John, you had a comment about
The windows, are we ready to get back to the windows
I think
now
so.
that we've clarified on the dumpster enclosure? Okay. There is not going to be an opportunity to do frosted windows or tinted windows at this time, because within the PBM district, window glass has to be clear with light transmission at the ground story at least 90%, and for upper story 75%. We're only talking about the ground story. So that opportunity, we will not be able to do frosted or tinted windows. However, what could be done, and Ken can presumably get creative on the interior of the building, is behind the windows within the interior of the garage, some kind of visual barrier could be done to allow for a better screening. So you could do a kind of a false wall, if you will, a few feet back on the inside with an attractive appearance, maybe even appearing as, you know, pieces of art in an art museum Rob was talking about, or something of this nature. So you guys can get creative in order to make that happen, but because we did not advertise for a departure for window glass, if you will, so unfortunately that cannot be added. Sorry. But we gotta
Oh, you
deal with
mean
the code.
within the PVM rules?
Within the PVM rules, and we didn't advertise for a
So
departure.
when we did that before,
They could come back and ask.
Unless we asked for a departure at that time. I don't recall if we asked for a departure.
Just to clarify, Deanna, before we changed, departures did not require public notice in the past. That was just recently changed.
That was added
over the
within
last
like 3-4 years ago.
few
That's
years.
how it
That's
happened.
how we were able to do that. in
Right, because it was just,
Previous meetings.
yeah, so, but that idea of doing something a few feet back, you're still letting light, you're still having
Yeah.
the clear windows, but you could have like a false wall, if you will,
Yeah,
or
like the med
appearance.
spot. The med spot puts a little display on the inside.
Or some, yeah, some kind of display.
Yep.
For that, at least that lower portion, you know, the first, say, 6 feet or something like that.
But is that part of a condition of approval?
Well, let's say we had this condition. Windows, garage, first floor garage windows to be screened on all 3 sides to be approved by planner. Can you do that?
They not really, the windows themselves can't be screened, but there could be some interior
Well,
screening
The cars
method.
have to be screened.
I'm sorry?
Cars have to be.
Yeah, some interior garage screening method, if that's agreeable to the applicant. To screen the vehicles on the first floor. So if the applicant's agreeable to that, we can work with the applicant to ensure that that is.
Dan, I'd also like to make an amendment, staff recommendation 2A and 2B about the 6 parking spot. I still have an issue with parking on this, but I'm gonna punt that to the board. I recommend more than 6 parking spots, and the board can figure that out with the easement, but I don't think that's sufficient.
So that's not a condition of approval, that's just a verbal
It's a verbal recommendation.
request that you're having to.
It's not a condition of approval, correct?
Carter,
That's
right.
my recommendation when it goes to the board.
It's not part of the current approval, though.
Okay.
I don't want the board,
Well, you got one other board member here listening to all this too right now, so. Yeah, and that's what we'll do. I don't know how to write up this garage screening or whatever. You guys,
So if the applicants are agreeable, what we can do, and Kent, you have suggested language, perhaps the commission's amenable to that, it would be that the applicant obtain staff approval for interior screening that's interior to the garage, behind the windows, to help screen vehicles from adjacent views.
I'm good with that.
Is that something, gentlemen,
Yeah,
that
I
you
mean,
find?
If something has to
agreeable?
happen there, we would be agreeable to that, but what?
Interior garage screening.
Interior screening, so that way we have clear glass, we have light transmission being allowed into the interior of the building, including the interior of the garage. And several feet behind that, though, you could put in, again, some kind of screening, an attractive screening from the outside. Again, not unlike the AI, if you
Yeah,
wish.
yeah.
That helps screen vehicles, if
Yeah.
you will, from exterior view.
You bet, if seeing the vehicles is offensive, we would, well, I mean.
Can we clarify that?
what's that?
Can we clarify
They
maybe
don't have
the
to.
commission's opinion on, we're just thinking about this, but is that offensive that, you're walking by, usually, it's transparent, but you're not reflective, you're not like, unless you go up and peek in, you're not seeing the view, is that a problem that maybe that they are transparent?
I don't think it's a.
I'm not offended by it.
And might suggest if it's up to the, we could, if we look at, if we're like, hey, we think this is gonna be, because we want it to look nice, then we could have a screening on the inside, not on the window, and if we're like, what, actually, looks pretty good, and, when you look in, you can see cars, but I don't think the exterior facade, I think, is still really beautiful, and with glazing, the only thing would be lights on at night, but you're not gonna light.
I don't want to see a car when I'm casually walking by from 10 feet away.
Pardon?
I don't want to, if I'm 10 feet away from the window, I don't want to be able to tell what kind of car.
Yeah, I don't think you generally
so,
would, because
right.
they're reflecting, if you look through a window, typically like in someone's house, you don't see inside typically during the day. It'd be at night if the lights were on, which, that's not gonna be
I'll tell you what I thought.
Okay.
I thought our supervisor sitting in his office, looking across the street and seeing cars in there, he's gonna, because he's a very picky guy.
Yeah.
He'd be
Well-
coming right after me.
But that's something that we can't speculate on here. I mean,
Well, we
we're trying
can.
trying to identify an opinion. of
So that's why we're saying.
We all like
want-
the
There's
screening.
gotta be some sort of
Yeah.
screening there.
Yeah, if
I-
we got
I
the
don't want-
screening, we're
I don't
fine.
want just a window.
Yeah.
I don't care if someone peeks in and sees a car.
Like, to
But
me,
if-
just a window is not, okay.
Yeah, but
There's
if
gotta
you're,
be something behind it.
believe me, guys, I know Tom.
Maybe a follow-on question I'm curious about is the plan to have that lit 24/7 as well inside on that first floor?
I mean, it'll at least be on motion sensors. That's typically with the Michigan Energy Code. You can't leave lights on inevitably. They turn off after a certain period of time, so.
And then you'd for sure see it at night. If there wasn't a screening.
Yeah, sound screening is, if that's what the opinion is, I don't, we don't have to.
I think,
Okay.
hopefully we got it nailed.
Is the,
We'll do what we need to do to make it fit what we need to do to make Ada continue to look and be the town that it was. I remember standing across the street over 10 years ago, looking over here and seeing basically nothing. And I have been part of this from that point to now. And Ada is phenomenal. And I give you our commitment. We will do whatever we need to do to continue to make this a showplace of the Midwest.
Okay, you got that in there?
I have one question.
sir.
Is the glass requirement that we're referring to, that would require a public, is that overcomable by a request for departure in a subsequent meeting that is open to the public? And if they were to come back in a month and ask, we want to frost these windows, I think they have a fairly receptive audience here. I'm not speaking for anyone else, but is that something that's doable?
They could, if they would wish to, that would be an amended request, that would have to be tabled. I don't know,
Okay.
architectural standards don't require, they require advertising, but I don't think we require a public hearing for those. I think we just have to advertise them. So they could amend the application if they chose to do so. Or again, if everybody was agreeable to this idea of the interior screening. Oh, hang on.
Can we agree to?
Hang on just a second.